welcome to Battle of the Christmas Movies between Lifetime and Hallmark. So, before we get started, be sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell so you can continue to get more content from this channel. Alright, so we're going to start with Lifetime. The first movie was Christmas on Wheels. I really enjoyed this one. It had the main character, her mum died, but when she was younger, she and her mum would drive around in this red car and they would go give kids presents that weren't able to get presents otherwise. So it was like sort of like a charity thing they would do every Christmas and drive around the whole town, and the whole town was really enjoying that moment of like seeing them do that. So I suppose her mum dies, it's too hard for her, so she hadn't been back to the town in a while. Her uncle ends up selling the car because it was just it was getting damaged by no one was using it. She says do whatever she wants with it. So she comes back and she realized her uncle sold it, but then she realized how much she misses it, and she at least wanted to get a chance to look at it one more time. So her and this guy who turns out to be her uncle's lawyer or something like that, estate lawyer, they drive around looking for the car. They end up finding it, and then they end up fixing it up, and then she realizes how much she wants to start up the charity again and driving around giving presents. So her and this guy, they team up together, and obviously they fall in love and all this stuff. So, but other than that, it was a really good movie. I really enjoyed it. The car had a bit of moments kind of like Bumblebee. It really wasn't like that, but you know, with the music trying to connect them together, so that like Bumblebee moment in Transformers. So I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, it was a good movie. That was Christmas on Wheels. The next Lifetime movie was the Christmas edition. Okay, this one I really enjoyed. It was about a news editor, and she was hoping for promotion, but her company gets bought and she ends up being offered like a lower tier type job that she was doing like 5 years ago. So she ends up quitting. A company friend of hers that used to just sort of hang around with the newspaper tells her about this town in Alaska that there's a newspaper room and they're looking for an editor. And so she decides, well, what the heck? She goes off, she decides she's going to do it. She's going to be the editor-in-chief. So the guy who actually owns it, his father was the one that was into the whole newspaper business and journalism and stuff like that, but he was into more art creative works. But so he hires her to do that job, and she's loving it. It was pretty much a dying thing because it's print, and the company was everywhere else was going digital. So, but she pretty much revives the whole newspaper business in the town. Everyone's interested again. I really enjoyed this more so because I've always kind of liked the feeling of like a small town and just feeling like you've got that really close connection with people. I really enjoyed that. It brought joy to my heart because I'd just like to experience something like that where you just felt like family and just really close. So I realized that was something I would really like to experience someday. Not necessarily like in Alaska or anything, but I would like to go to Alaska just because I heard, I'm not sure if it's in the summer where it's like daytime all the time. I think that'd be amazing, being legally blind, like, oh, it's daytime all the time. So that just brings joy to my heart. But I don't know how exactly all that plays out. But back to the movie. This was really good. So she ends up like really building paper, and afterwards the company that actually bought her other company ends up come knocking, seeing how well she did by bringing back to life that newspaper spot, and offers her a job that she wanted, but this time is different because she's really connected with the town, and she's really built friendships, and of course she fell in love with the guy who owned the newspaper, but that wasn't his calling. And obviously I was like, well, why should she go to the other company. Yes, I mean, you could probably pay her more, but in this spot, she's really running things, and she's more like the boss than just a editor-in-chief or something like that. So I thought, well, the answer is simple. Of course, it will be a little bit more of like a task for some people because it's in Alaska. But she loves someone, so I guess that makes up for it because she has love there, and she felt really cozy with everyone. So I personally enjoyed that movie, and that was the Christmas edition. So both, all in all, Lifetime, great. Now, Hallmark. So the first one was, what was it? Timeless Christmas. No, the first one was, we'll start with Timeless Christmas. Timeless Christmas. Now this one, I always like that sort of time travel situation going on. So in this one, it was like Charles something, but it was back in 1903. He was soon to get married, but he ends up, he gets like a clock for his fiance. But he realized it wasn't working, but then he does this like twist thing, and then obviously he goes to bed and wakes up, and he's in 2020, I'm assuming. I don't know if they said the year, but I'm assuming it was 2020, because the movie is 2020. So, anyways, so from 1903 to 2020, turns out his house that he once had been turned into a museum. He later finds out that because there wasn't any actual instruction for, I'm assuming, a will basically for what to do with his money and company and all that stuff. Everything was liquidated, sold to the banks, and so in this time period in 2020, he's basically broke. He doesn't have anything, and he discovers that. Well, obviously back then he was like a millionaire, and obviously if he kept that, he would probably be like super uber rich, like old money kind of rich. But in this new time, so he sees that it's a museum, and they kind of do like a character, like where they reenact the time period of where he was. And apparently in this time period, it just seemed like he disappeared in this time period. No one actually knew where he went. But the funny thing is now in the future. So he ends up falling in love with, I'm assuming, with the lady that plays his maid. Like she's acting like his maid or something like that. And after that, she discovers obviously that he's telling the truth. He's from that 1903. So pretty much it was a good movie all in all. My only problem is at the end, spoiler, he ends up staying. And I understand that he ends up, obviously, he didn't love his fiance back then. It was more like a duty than anything, but the fiance back then ends up falling in love with someone else, I suppose, because they couldn't find him, obviously. But all in all, that kind of worked out. But for me, I felt like, well, dude, he's broke now. No offense or anything. Not that money is everything, but to know that, oh, well, if he just had a will or something, in this time frame, he would, be uber successful. I guess, the turn is that he fell in love and he found the love of his life. But I don't know how I'd feel about the fact that it's like, well, shoot, the love of my life had to come from a whole different time, like from 1903. That was a bit weird for me, but I could definitely see how that works out because he ends up staying. So it was just kind of weird. I don't know. I mean, I think it was during a full moon and the thing works. So I'd have timed it, gone back, written a will somehow, and then hit the clock again and then hope to come back to the same time. I don't know. But but I guess love conquers all after a while. So hopefully he's able to do something, but it's like his whole life work was just like gone and is now basically in a museum as a memory. So I'm not sure how I would take that, but it was still a good movie because I always like that whole time travel thing. It reminded me of I guess that in a sense that was a bit like it too. It reminded me of what was it called? I think Leopold, Kate and Leopold, but I don't actually remember the actual movie. But it had Meg Ryan and Hugh Jackman. Was it Hugh Jackman? Yeah, it was Hugh Jackman, wasn't it? Yeah, and had that, and then basically he came from back then or something like that in the 1800s as well, or something, and comes to the future and meets her. I really do love that movie so much, and I always loved Meg Ryan. But she ends up going back to the past because it seems like a picture like she was there in the past, which is all kinds of strange. So I don't know how I would feel about that too, thinking, okay, I'm so used to like the microwave and all these other things, and now I'm having to go way back to where there was like nothing, not even like, I don't even know if electricity was at that time. If there wasn't, that just so would not work because I need light, like proper light. Yeah, I'm thankful I was born in this century because being legally blind and not having proper equipment that will assist you really, really sucks. But who knows, might have been even more creative back then. So it just kind of reminded me a bit of that movie, of course, the Christmas version. But I did like it. It was great. The chemistry was fantastic once again. But yeah, so that was A Timeless Christmas, Hallmark. Now, Christmas in Vienna. I really liked this one as well. It was about a violinist that she sort of like just lost the passion, but I guess she was playing for the Vienna violin place or whatever. It's like a concert hall thing, orchestra, and she was when she was playing that, she realized she's not having the same passion, so she was thinking about quitting. But shortly after that, she meets this guy who turns out to be a diplomat and who happens to be her best friend's cousin, and she ends up sort of just taking care of the kids because the best friend got a great opportunity to sell her stuff in the market, and she needed to be able to do that, and she needed someone to watch the guy's kids for him. There's 3 kids. There was 2 girls, 1 boy. So she volunteers and says, okay, yeah, sure, she'll do that while she's doing her tourist thing. So while exploring, she's like taking the kids around. They're a bit uncomfortable sometimes because they're constantly moving because their dad is a diplomat. So he has to go to all these different places, but so they've never really been attached to anything, and their mum died. So it's been really hard for all of them, including the man, the diplomat. They end up falling in love with each other, but he realizes he gets a job and he has to go to Zurich. So if he's going to take that job or not, and she gets a great opportunity to play for the Vienna symphony or something like that, I don't know, but she gets an opportunity to play in Vienna, like permanently, I guess is some high honor, and she's not sure if she's going to take it because she wasn't too sure about how she felt, but she ends up taking it, and he ends up not taking the job in Zurich because the kids ultimately, she says, why don't you ask them? And he does, and the kids say no, they want to stay in Vienna, they really like it. They end up staying in Vienna, but I really did like this because I always like feeling like I'm in a new place, and I like the markets and exploring a whole new country. So I really just enjoyed that. Once again, it gave a bit of like a small town feel of just like people connecting, having that connection. And I think that's something I've always kind of wanted, to be able to really connect. Family, you know, that sort of feeling, and I always feel like it escapes me sometimes, but it's really nice to live in those like movies that really explore that type of world, and I love it. So they end up together, enjoying each other's company, and hopefully would get married, but altogether it was a good movie. I did like it. Christmas in Vienna. All in all, they both get I'd say it's a, what would I say? I'll say it's a 10 for Lifetime. I give Hallmark 15. because I like the Vienna one, and it was a little bit more exploratory, like in a different place. I mean, of course, the one in Alaska, that's nice and all, but when you're like having markets and artwork and just like history all in all, it was kind of cool. So that's a bonus point, 5 bonus points. So I'll give Hallmark 15, I give Lifetime 10 on that. Alright, that was it. Thank you for watching. Once again, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you can get updates. And I will see you later for more Battle of the Christmas movies between Lifetime and Hallmark. Take care. Bye.